Jasmine Baird. I'm a slopestyle and big air snowboarder on the Canadian national team. I'm currently ranked 1st in Canada and 11th in the world. I'm ultimately training to compete at the 2022 Olympic Games.
My name is Alexandria Town and I am a women's freestyle wrestler. So right now I am on the Canadian national team for women's wrestling. We are trying to qualify our team for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
So a slopestyle course mainly consists of a number of jumps and rails, and the jumps range from around 50 to 100 feet. So there's definitely a lot of risk with my sport, a lot of injuries that can happen very easily and all of a sudden.
It's a difficult process, but I'm definitely on track. I'm competing internationally and getting a lot of match experience in preparation for the Canadian Olympic Trials, which are coming up in December. And after that, then you have to compete at the Continental Championships in March and place there. So I think all of the training and competitions that I'm doing right now are preparing me very well to qualify.
Well, I think snowboarding is really unique that it has this huge mental component because of how scary things can be, and just you don't want to do it at all sometimes, but you just have to because you're at a contest, you flew across the world. So there's definitely a huge fear factor, but I love it for the adrenaline and the feeling after you've done what you're so scared of doing. It's just the best thing ever and nothing compares to it.
Wrestling is definitely a very aggressive sport. The whole idea is for you to assert your dominance over somebody else's body. So you need to get in that ring, get on that mat with another person, push them around, pull them, lift them up, tug on them. So it's a lot of forces combating against each other, which is very draining on the body.
I've seen a lot of broken backs, a lot of broken necks, a lot of meniscus and ACL tears in the knee. It's very common. A lot of my friends and teammates have had it. I've actually been pretty lucky. I've only had 3 concussions for major injuries. I've had a couple of ankle sprains, something going on with my knee, but I've been lucky with the risk.
In wrestling, it's very common to have injuries of the shoulder because you're constantly reaching forward. So sometimes you'll get overuse and dislocations. There's a lot of injuries as well with the wrists, sprained wrists from when you're landing on a bad angle. For me, I sometimes also get I had a knee surgery a couple of years ago, so sometimes that bothers me. There's a lot of back injuries in wrestling. That's very common, and that's something that I deal with as well.
I was first introduced to mobility tape through my mom, who's a massage therapist, and she has a clinic in Brampton, and she started selling it through her clinic to a bunch of patients, and everyone was just thrilled with it. Had so many good results, and then I gave it a go one day, and it was amazing. I've been dealing with Osgood Schlatters in my right knee since I was about 8 years old. So it's just a little bump in the joint there that causes me a lot of pain, especially with snowboarding and the constant impact. So yeah, my mom introduced me to the tape and I gave it a try, and just all the pain from my Osgood was gone.
I'm actually a graduate of kinesiology. So I studied kinesiology and I took a course on athletic therapy, taping and injuries. So I'm well versed in the field. My father's a chiropractor. He uses kinesiology tape. So I'm quite familiar with the product and the benefits and how it can be used. I was first introduced to mobility tape through the therapist Chris Area, who used it on my ankle after I was recovering from a foot surgery and my ankle was giving me a lot of problems.
I've tried it at a few other taping products in the past, but honestly it is nothing comparable to the results I've had with mobility tape. For example, this season, 1 week out before the biggest contest of the year, I hurt my ankle pretty bad. I couldn't walk, I couldn't turn, and a couple days after I tried taping it with just some tape my physio had, it was a bit more supportive but not really helpful. And then the day of the contest, I actually tried mobility tape because my mom sent me out a roll, and it was just life-changing. I competed, no pain whatsoever. I was able to do my biggest trick, which is the switch double underflip, and I came top 10, which was huge for me in that contest.
The first time I used mobility tape, I was immediately pleasantly surprised at the sensation from the oils and the menthol and everything that was in the tape. It felt great, it smelled amazing, but what really got me hooked was how well it stayed on, because I've tried a lot of different tapes before, and wrestling is a sport where you're constantly moving, you're constantly sweating, there's a lot of friction from the person grabbing you, from from your clothes rubbing. So you need a tape that's going to have very good adhesive properties. And mobility tape, hands down, has the best adhesive properties I've ever had in a tape before.
The fact that mobility tape also has a heat activation component is just the best thing about it. It really separates it from everything else. It's so unique and it really sticks onto my skin a lot better than any other tape I've ever had. It lasts through showers, swimming, overnight, anything.
I have used other brands of kinesiology tape in the past, the ones that are a little bit more prevalent and well-known, familiar. And I think my initial impression of them, it's cool to have a tape that you've seen in the media before and that everybody's familiar with, but I wasn't really impressed with it. Sometimes I found it didn't stick on very well, and there just wasn't much to it.
I don't only use mobility tape for pain relief, but also for stability in my ankle, my knee, my wrist, wherever I need it at the time. So that's been very helpful. I use it daily for months at a time when needed.
When I started using mobility tape, I could see an immediate difference in the way that the tape stayed on and the way that it stretched and performed and stuck with my body while I was in motion. And in addition to that, when I used the heated activation one, it was just on a whole other level because that's something that no other tape has, so I haven't been able to experience that. So that alone is something that makes it clearly stand out.
The thing about mobility tape is it works. I've learned this from experience as a high performance athlete with a lot of high risk in my sport, a lot of impact, things like that. So I recommend it to any athlete who has to deal with soreness in their daily training and any injuries that come about to get better and back into it quicker.
The way that I use it enables me to get back to my training and perform at the level that I want to perform at internationally. So I don't have to take a step back and say, no, I'm hurt right now. I'm able to apply it and have enough support to keep working. Mobility tape in itself is something that I find stretches better and clings to the body better, is more adhesive. So now I just don't see any reason to go back to other brands that are more common. It's just mobility tape is a superior product, in my opinion.